Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight. We're talking about the debate last night. Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump squaring off for the first time. We're gonna talk about some of the questions that were asked, and I expect we're gonna talk about some of the stuff that some of the stuff about the moderator. But I guess before a threshold question, I want to ask you. And I say this because I'm just kind of frustrated with this line of analysis. If we're gauging individual performances, I think that's fair to do, and I think that there's been a lot of consensus in the initial reporting of what I said, that Hillary performed well and that Donald Trump performed poorly. Now, does that mean somebody won and somebody lost? I don't know, because I think that scoring a debate what are the metrics to score a debate? You land a zinger. Well, for crying out loud, that isn't.
And if that's the case, Hillary had the best one out there.
She did, but I kind of don't care about that. So because at the end of the day, all of Trump's people are going to say that Trump won, and they already have. All of Hillary's people are going to say that she won, and they already have. So what's the debate leaves you? We don't learn anything new. We don't talk about anything new. We just go back to our partisan corners and ignore the world around us. And so, do you think that the conversation of who won and who lost is even constructive?
Well, it's constructive in that I disagree. I agree in part, but I disagree in part. From the people that I have some very positive feedback from, which would be somewhere around 122 people when I left work today. Those that supported Hillary don't think Hillary did as well as she could and lost the debate because she missed opportunities. Those that support Trump say exactly the same thing. Well, Trump let a lot of opportunities go. He should have attacked her on this. She should have, and I don't think he won because of that. It is really fascinating because you're right. It didn't do anything to sway anybody one way or another. However, from just a bit, because we have a large Facebook following. Mm-hmm. Just from those people that responded, it does seem like those that support Trump said, well, they lost. And of all people, my cousin Valerie, I don't know if you saw that. I've talked to her. It's not like she's a giant Hillary fan, but she is definitively an anti-Republican fan, right? And even she said, well, I think it was a tie. They both could have done. So I think there was a lot of opportunity lost. Now, as far as scoring the debate, in high school debate, I had this Facebook conversation. In high school debate, there's rules. You have a moderator. That moderator controls that debate. And it doesn't matter what happens, right? You're at 2 minutes, and you're allowed a little bit of leeway, but you're not allowed 3 minutes leeway. You're allowed like 15 seconds. And the problem is Lester Holt lost control of this debate early and often, and was described by the New York Times as being absent.
Well, that was by design, though.
You think so?
Well, no. The debate, the folks that came out for the Center for Presidential Debates, or the Council President, whatever it is, came out before they got started and said the moderator asked the question. There's going to be 2 minutes to respond, and then he's going to let you guys just go after each other. So Lester Holt, and I guess he was some of the reporting that was done. He was instructed and sort of gently encouraged, so to speak, to just let them go after each other and not become the story, a la Candy Crowley in 2012. Which, okay. Does that make sense? So I know that the Hillary folks are just kind of, everybody's kind of crabby about it because the Hillary folks want this real-time moderator fact-checking of Donald Trump, because he did it, and he did it again last night, spouted off just a bunch of stuff that doesn't have any basis in reality. And the Trump folks are irritated because they felt like he got asked unfair questions. To that end, let's talk about some of the questions that you want to talk about.
All right.
Because I have a feeling that you and I that this is going to devolve into shouting before we're done.
It might. It might, especially on the nuclear thing. I mean, all presidents walk that fine line. One of the things I want to point out, it is easy to lose a debate and it's easy to win a debate because that's just up to people, what people's opinions are. And generally, presidential debates do not necessarily swing a person one way or another, particularly in a matchup like this where there's really not a precedent. But what you can do is you can lose it and lose it big. All you got to do is get up there and not lose terribly in order not to have the polls change. And that's really what we saw. The polls are still pretty tight this morning when I was looking.
Well, you got to give those a few days to cycle through.
Well, sure.
Yep.
I would agree with that. And, we both agree that polls aren't worth the electrons.
We'll see about that.
So here it is. Here are the list of questions by Lester Holt to both candidates. Jobs and economy. Beginning with you, Secretary Clinton, why are you a better choice than your opponent to create the kinds of jobs that will put more money in pockets of American work?
Fair question.
It is. Mr. Trump, same question to you. It's putting more money into the pockets of American workers. You have up to 2 minutes.
Fair question.
Yes. Let me follow up with you, Mr. Trump, if you can. I like how you threw in Mr. If you can. That's kind of cute. You've talked about creating 25 million jobs. I'm going to do this. And you've promised to bring back millions of jobs for Americans. How are you going to bring back the industries that have left this country for cheaper labor? And specifically, are you going to tell manufacturers that you have to come back?
Fair question.
And I agree.
It's a good question.
Because, and this is one of my criticisms of Trump, he set himself up very many times to Hillary's counterattacks. I mean, here he is talking about his businessman. And one of the things that Hillary came back with was, well, then let's talk about your business. You keep bringing that up. Let's talk about it. So he did his usual thing, which I think he should, because that's what got him there. But now you're on a different stage, and you're going to have to tweak this a little bit.
Well, and the issue with his answer, my Republican friends that I was talking to about this last night this morning were pretty pleased with the economy and trade stuff that they did in the first 20 minutes to half hour before the wheels came off, and he started shouting Hillary down, interrupting her a lot, just kind of taking the bait. She baited him numerous times, and he rose and he took the bait every single time, which was hysterical to see. Well, yeah. But I mean, for example, because in that section where he's talking about his business acumen, she comes back and says, "Well, you got this loan from your dad." He couldn't stop himself. No. That's one of those things you probably got to let go.
Yeah.
But his answer on the jobs thing is and Republicans should be screaming for the hills about this, trade protectionism and forcing them to come back and not letting them leave. That doesn't sound like Republican free market to me.
Well, it isn't. And we're going to be back after this to discuss more about the debate, the questions, whether they're fair or not. Everybody's going to have their opinion about who won and who lost. We want to thank everybody for tuning in. Without you, we couldn't do what we do. We'll be back right